Tenemos la alegría enorme de poder firmar esta vez en Santa Cruz, California, una cervecería que teníamos agendada, que hicimos algunas tomas en el 2022, pero que ahora estamos con su dueña y con su maestra cervecera, su head brewer. Estoy con Adair Paterno y estamos en Sante Adairius Rustic Ale. Hello.
Hello, Graciela. It's lovely to have you here.
I'm so happy and I feel so good because I need the history of this brewery.
Sante Adairius started in 2012. It was me at the time, and then I had a former partner, Tim Clifford. We were together at the time. We were not together anymore. But we had been just really loving beer for a long time, and home brewing as well. And honestly, and he was much more of a home brewer than I was, and started really just stumbling upon Belgian style beers in particular, and mixed fermentation beers, and playing around with those. And in 2009 or 10, around that time, they weren't as they were more difficult to get in the United States. So you had to get them from Belgium or from France or from other places in Europe. So Tim in particular started really working with these beers at home as a home brewer, and developed a wonderful culture, a house culture, kind of like a sourdough starter culture, that created these lovely saisons in particular. And so then we had the opportunity in 2011. We had a tiny bit of money, barely anything, but we had a tiny bit of money, and we really felt like Santa Cruz needed more beer. There wasn't a lot here at the time. And so we were able to open Sante Adairius in 2012, and we started tiny, just this little room right here that we're in, and then a little bit of space behind us, which we'll see later. But now we have this whole building, but we started with just a tiny bit of space and a little bit of money. Yeah.
Yes, but the most important, you in this time before, you stay very close to the best beers of Belgium, the culture of Belgium, and you try in a little samplers your experiments. And I think it's wonderful because maybe this is the start.
Yeah, it was important for us to make all beer styles well. So, we make IPA, we make lager, we make everything. But really, I always say that the heart of this brewery is our barrel program. And that's really where the heart and soul of the brewery is. I love IPAs just like anybody else. They're great to drink. They pay the bills. But the heart here comes from the mixed fermentation program, for sure.
Okay.
So in the United States, we measure things in what are called barrels, which are 31 gallons each. I don't know what that translates to into liters. I wish that we were on the metric system. But we make about 2,000 barrels per year, which is very, very small. It's a very small amount of beer. We sell it primarily locally, primarily in our tap rooms. We have 3 tap rooms now, here, up the road, and then also in Oakland, California. We have no interest in becoming like a big brewery. To describe how small it is, actually, I visited, I don't know if you've been to the Budweiser facility in St. Louis, Missouri, in the United States. I stood next to one tank that held more beer in it than we make in an entire year. Yeah, one tank. Yeah, that we make in an entire year. So we make a really small amount of beer every year, and it's just important to us to do what we love, to be good citizens in our community, and to make great beer.
It's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah.
Now, what happened now with you? You like to cross over the limits and go so far. What's the news or the future of the news of the beers?
Yeah,
here?
so I think what we're always trying to do is create interesting flavors without punching you in the face. So if you know what I mean. So I feel like some people, they want to just like, make sure that hops just like hit you in the face, or that a fruit flavor hits you in the face, or that something is really sour. And I think that our philosophy, particularly in the mixed fermentation program, is to make beers that pair well with food, that you can sit and sip on for a long period of time. They're going to be maybe a little bit tart, but I don't want them to be so sour that it's going to be too much. So I think that in America in particular, we tend to try to reach the extremes. And we honestly want to be a little bit more subtle. And I want you, if you can taste, if we've used like a spice and you can pick it out, then we've probably used too much of it. So I want things to be like a well-rounded, just a well-rounded flavor in the beers. This is Nate. Nate today is brewing By the Sea. By the Sea is what we call our Riviera-style Pilsner. It's so good. It's one of my favorite beers. It's kind of a blend of French and Italian versions of a Pilsner, and it's become one of our most popular beers. We call it By the Sea because we're in Capitola. Capitola is sometimes known as Capitola by the Sea. And since it's a Riviera-style beer, it makes you want to sit on a beach. Fermenters have numbers, so we can keep track of them, but a number of them also have names. Some of the names that you'll see on them are the pets, or the dogs and cats of our staff here. So Higgs and Brooks and Kitty and Shugwhite at the end, those are all animals that we love here at the brewery. My dog's name is Rosie. She doesn't have a tank yet because I haven't had her for very long, so Rosie needs a tank. So the large wooden barrels that you see here are called foeders. These are used in wine production frequently. What we use them for is to make large quantities of typically of a Saison style beer. These allow us to blend into our smaller barrels that you see here as well. They sometimes will also just serve them as they are, but they give us a lot of volume of a certain type of Saison stock that we can then break down and do different things with into our smaller barrels. We'll go over to the barrel room and you'll see how many barrels we have over there. This is our barrel room. Here we have all of our mixed fermentation barrels that we were talking about earlier. So all of these beers are in different stages of fermentation with Brettanomyces, Lactobacillus, Pediococcus, all kinds of fun bugs. Some of them contain fruit, others contain herbs. Typically, when we put a beer together, they're all a blend. So it's rare that we're actually just pulling from one barrel and serving that. We actually will take different barrels, taste them, and come up with a combination of flavors that we think will taste good in the glass together. So we have over 400 barrels in this room to choose from. So it's like a painter's palette, if you will, where you can actually take little colors from each barrel and mix them all together to create a whole new color. It's really fun. It's the most fun part of this brewery. So the larger fooders we saw earlier, those were French fooders. So we got those from wineries. These are actually much smaller. They're American-made fooders. There's a company in the Midwest of the United States called Fooder Crafters, and they use American oak primarily to build fooders from scratch when you order them. So we had these made for us, and we've put lots of different. They're fun because they're smaller, so we can do a little bit more experimenting with these particular vessels.